Last time I told you about our tuition center client and his lead magnet, going from over $10 a lead down to as low as 97 cents. Cool story, but cheap leads are just the first part of the equation, because if they don't result in actual paying customers, or in this case, paying students, that really means nothing. And that's where many tuition centers or even businesses fall apart, turning a lead into a paying customer. And that's what we are going to talk about in this video today. How to turn cheap leads into paying customers by implementing what I call a Linchpin Sales Event. But before we dive into it, quick intro. I'm Terence. I run Radical Marketing, a webinar marketing agency. We've been running webinar and lead gen funnels for coaches, course creators, education business, and SaaS companies for over a decade now. We have generated over 2 million leads since 2014 across Malaysia, Australia, US, and beyond. Today, I want to talk about what happens after the lead comes in and why some tuition centers struggle to turn these leads into enrollments, and what are ones getting it right are actually doing differently, and how you can build a more predictable system around it. And even if you don't run a tuition center, but you generate leads from ads, you can apply the same strategies I'm about to share with you here today. So here's where most tuition centers get stuck once the leads start coming in. And to be fair, these are common mistakes. So if you're actually doing it, don't be too hard on yourself, because a lot of people make this same mistake. Number one, the ad spend trap. Spending more on Facebook, YouTube, but your returns just kind of bounces around. Some months are good. Some months you can't even explain why it tanked. You look at the ad account, possibly it looks fine. The enrollments just don't match up with what you're spending, and nobody can tell you exactly why. Two, the manual sales grind. Now you or your staff are on the phone for hours with leads who honestly weren't ready to buy yet or weren't qualified. And you're investing in more sales training because you think you have a closing problem, but in reality, you're just talking to unqualified leads. Three, and this is probably the most common one, the quiet months. Enrollment spikes at the start of the term or semester. Everyone's excited, phone's ringing, then 2-3 weeks in, things go quiet until the next term rolls around and you're back to wondering where the next inquiry's even gonna come from. You basically have a feast or famine cycle for your tuition business, or any business for that matter. Now, if any of that sounds familiar, it's not because you're bad at this, it's because you don't have a regular sales event that actively generates sales. You're reacting to whoever calls in that week, and if they don't respond, you kind of leave them alone. So let me tell you what we did together with Jerry. When we started working with Jerry, the tuition center guy, he already had a 7-figure tuition business. So this wasn't a case of taking a startup and trying to get it off the ground. But since then, his business has grown by close to 3 times. 177% is what he told me, almost 3 times over. But what really mattered to us wasn't just the growth. Jerry had something else going on for him. His students stayed enrolled for about 2 years on average. So we worked backwards from that. We knew what a student was actually worth over that 2-year period, which meant we could figure out what made sense to spend to acquire a new customer. Not some magic number put out from a generic benchmark, a number based on his actual retention and revenue. So say, for example, if an average student pays his tuition center $100 a month over 2 years, which is the average stay for each student, that is an average of $2,400 in revenue. Now, if I told you that for every dollar you give me, I will give you $3 back, how much money will you give me? As much as you can, right? I mean, you sell your car and mortgage your house, give me every single dollar you have. And that's what Jerry had going for him. He understood the math. As long as he spent under $2,400, he's making money to acquire one customer. And that's why he spends big on ads. That's an important distinction, because a lot of tuition centers don't really know that number. They're just deciding what feels like a reasonable amount to spend on ads and hoping the math works out. So from there, we tested different funnels and offers, lead magnets, trial classes, all sorts of things. But eventually, we found that most of the selling was happening in one place, a monthly webinar. Not a sales call, not a trial class, one webinar once a month, doing the conversion. And that, my friends, is what I call the Linchpin Sales Event. And that same idea, one event doing the sales instead of your staff doing it one call at a time, that's basically what sits at the center of the system we use for tuition center. And honestly, it works for any other business. Instead of selling one parent at a time on the phone and hoping a trial class converts, you're running a Linchpin Sales Event once a month, which is a webinar, and it does the work for your entire warmed-up list at once. And what this does, it activates your list by creating the excitement of attending an event. Basically, every single month, whoever's raised their hands so far gets invited back to a webinar, a seminar, or special training, and that event's job is to turn cold leads into sales in 60 minutes. So why monthly? And why an event specifically? Let me break down what makes this actually work. 1, a webinar lets you educate and sell at the same time. You are giving value and demonstrating your expertise. You are building trust and authority, because parents don't just need to know that you have tuition classes. They need to understand why the child is struggling, what needs to change, and why your approach can help. A webinar gives you an hour to explain that properly, answer the questions parents are already thinking about, and then present your program as the next logical step to help them solve their problem. You do that once, and dozens of parents hear the same explanation at the same time. You don't need to explain it to them one-on-one. Now, 2, running it monthly means you're not waiting for the next enrollment season to make sales. Parents don't all decide to enroll at the same time. Some are looking for help at the start of the term. Others realize halfway through the term that their child's grades are not improving. A monthly webinar gives those parents a regular opportunity to discover your center, learn about your approach, and take the next step. So instead of constantly asking, how do we get more students this month? You have a recurring event designed to create new enrollment opportunities every single month. Now, 3, it gives you a way to turn your existing audience into future enrollments. See, your center probably already has parents on its database, like past inquiries, old leads, social media followers, and people who downloaded something from you but never enrolled. You don't need to find a completely new audience every time. That's the good news. And you can keep bringing those people back to another useful monthly event and give them another reason to engage with your center. And of course, another opportunity to say yes to your offer. And 4, it makes your marketing work as one system. Your lead magnets, your ads, your email list, your social content, and all other campaigns can point towards this same monthly webinar. So instead of running 5 unrelated promotions or channels, you're building one repeatable path. Get the parents' attention, get them to register, educate them, build trust, make the offer, and then enroll the student. And that's what makes the monthly webinar more than just an event. It becomes a repeatable enrollment engine. So very important note, if the webinar is supposed to generate enrollments, it cannot be structured like a normal educational webinar. The monthly webinar isn't a free class where you teach for 60 minutes and just awkwardly try and squeeze in a little pitch at the end. It's built from minute 1 as a sales conversion event. Parents come in cold or lukewarm from a lead magnet, and by the end of the 60 minutes, some of them are ready to enroll right there. Not think about it and get back to us kind of thing. Enroll on the spot. So for the 60 minutes, you're not just giving value, but you need to get agreement along the way. That's honestly the difference between a webinar that just gets attendance and makes people feel good and one that actually generates sales. Now, not everyone who shows up is going to say yes in that 60 minutes. That's normal. And honestly, that's a whole separate topic. What you do with the ones who don't convert right away. We'll get into that next time because that's its own system altogether. But for this month's centerpiece, the goal is simple for you. Get your list into one room once a month and let that room do the selling instead of your staff doing it one exhausting phone call at the time. For Jerry, that shift going from a constant manual selling to one recurring monthly event was a big part of what took his business 7 figures to growing it almost 3 times over. It didn't happen because of one lucky event. It happened because same event ran every single month, activating whoever was ready instead of leaving that job to chance. And that's the same principle we built into the perpetual enrollment playbook for tuition centers that we work with. Good news is you can download that playbook in the description so you can see how it all works. In the end, if your enrollment right now depends on whoever happens to call in that week, that's probably why your tuition business is stagnating. So here's my question for you. Right now, is your enrollment actually running through one predictable event every month? Or is it just whoever happens to call in that week? Drop in the comments. I read everyone. And look, this works best if you're already doing at least $20,000 a month and you're ready to break through to that next ceiling. If that's you, go check our website and see if we are a good fit to build this out together. Thanks again for joining me on this one, and I'll see you on the next episode.